Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another wonderful speaker discussion. Our next guest is an incredible icon within the local homeschooling community where I am, and as well as nationally. I've spoken to so many homeschooling parents nationally, and everybody knows about Sankofa Homeschool Co-op in our Washington, D.C. metro area. And so I don't even know where I would begin, but I'm going to allow her to introduce herself and to tell you a little bit about what led her to homeschooling, a little bit about her homeschooling journey before she answers one of our teaching questions. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, beautiful lady.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, so I've been homeschooling, I say pretty much 20 years in the game. My oldest is now a college student. He is a straight A college student. I'm very proud of him. He's majoring in music, and I'm still homeschooling my 14-year-old. Neither of them ever attended traditional school, not private, not public, not charter. They've always been homeschooled. And I did not initially intend to homeschool. In fact, I was looking at language immersion schools because I only had one child at the time, and I wanted him to be fluent in another language. But my husband was living at the time, and he vetoed every school orientation that I attended because he didn't see any Black people. And he said, he didn't want his son in that kind of environment. So I was on the fence for quite a long time. So I was homeschooling, and I always had my eye out for, the perfect fit, the perfect place to put him. By the time he was 12 years old, I realized that this had become, a lifestyle for us. And by that time, I had another child who I knew because of his unique learning style that I would never, ever put him in public school. So, along the way, I wanted to, be sure they had a community and they had a frame of reference for other people who looked like them and homeschooled. So in 2004, myself and some other like-minded sisters founded the Sankofa Homeschool Community, and we were a support for one another. And when we scheduled a field trip, we would let each other know, and we would roll in deep as opposed to trying to individually doing our thing and our showing up at places and our children not see anybody who looked like them. We wanted to make homeschooling an incredible experience, and we thought that we could better do that if we came together. And so that was the whole idea behind the Sankofa Homeschool Community. And then fast forward 7 years later, we had run ourselves ragged, and we wanted a place that we could see each other each week on a regular basis, and for our children to learn together, for the ones who were missing that kind of classroom vibe. And so we founded the Sankofa Homeschool Collective. And so here we are today. We've just, for the first time, our program is national because of COVID-19. People have always asked us along the way over the years, are your classes online? And we were like, no, it was a lot of work. And so we were forced to, and it's been a blessing because now we can reach more people. We can communicate with people all over the world. This semester, we actually have 5 students in Ghana.
Wow.
Yes. And so we're very happy about that, and just look forward to.
Do you know right off how many states you're hitting? How many different states your students come from?
Wow. California, North Carolina, I believe Richmond, like I said, Ghana.
That's a lot. That's a lot right there.
It's a lot.
That's wonderful.
Yes, we partnered with an organization called a Black Education Network to provide resources to the suddenly homeschooling. And, in California, there are not a lot of resources like this. So we just want to make ourselves available to those who want a different way to teach their children. And now they have an opportunity to, because everybody's homeschooling.
That's great. Well, congratulations on that. So I missed the math part. So Sankofa is now in what year? Would this be the 12th or the
No, this would be the 16th year because we were founded in 2004.
Wow. Okay.
The collective where we come together on Fridays, because see, it's all one entity,
Right.
and
Right.
the
Right.
collective is just a piece of the larger community, because there are people who are part of our community who've never attended the Friday classes because of the location, and so
Right.
now the whole community is able to participate. So yeah, we're 16 years old.
That's
16 going
congratulations.
strong.
And I want to say that for a while I was writing at the same for the same publication that you were writing for, and I was aware of just the things you were involved in based on your stories and your byline, you know, where it gives the little bio. And so I know that you also were active in other groups. So you just seem to be a community builder, because you were very prominent in the Mocha Moms in DC.
I still am, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm the founding president of the Southern DC chapter of Mocha Moms, and we've been in existence since 2002.
Yeah.
So, and we're still going strong. I've always been one to want to have community around me, and I like to share resources. I don't believe in holding on to anything for myself. If it's benefiting me, it can benefit others, and I like to share.
Yep, you've always been that person. I had my daughter in 2003, and I recall when I would see the things that you post, it gave me hope that there were things out there, that the things that I wanted to do with her weren't so ridiculous because there were other people doing it. So I need you to know that I'm sure that the things that you've done have been inspiring even to people that you haven't met. Can you
wow.
tell us, you also maintain a blog about your homeschooling journey?
I do. It's called Chocolate Covered Boy Joy.
Right.
And I started the blog because I would search for resources on homeschooling boys, specifically Black boys, and I couldn't find anything. And I thought, well, you know what? I know there are people out there who are doing this, and so they may benefit from me, you know, chronicling my journey. And I also, my younger son got me into YouTube, so I have a YouTube channel now.
Oh, wonderful.
Chocolate City Homeschool Life. So it's a little bit of travel and it's a little bit of homeschooling.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for sharing an overview of what you've done. I think it still doesn't encapsulate everything that you've done and all the amazing things that you have done with your boys. But I think that was a great starting point to then have you answer the question about what are some truths that you think folks should know when it comes to homeschooling Black children.
Well, one of the things I'll say is that I'm always concerned when I hear about people who are homeschooling only purely for academic reasons, because you can really get that anywhere. I think it's most important to ensure that your child has a healthy sense and love of self. And when you're homeschooling, understand that you have the freedom to do that, and that your children will not be at a deficit. We think that if they're not studying all the things that they're studying in school, when they finally go back, they'll be behind. No, if you focus on building them up and giving them self-love, teaching them how to think, making sure that you're reading with them all the time, you're having conversations with them, you're teaching them to think critically, they can re-enter the classroom at any time and be right on point. Now, in terms of math and science, you may want to, you know, just make sure you're keeping them, because I know some people pull their children in and out of school. So where that's concerned, you may want to keep them at or above grade level, but everything else really is about critical thinking. For me, when my children were young, I made a decision that they would not read any books that did not feature Black people until I think between the ages of 8 or 10, because I wanted to make sure they were strong in who they are. You know, as African people, I didn't want them to be bombarded with, you know, slavery or, you know, Harriet Tubman. All of that's a part of our history, but I wanted it to be contextualized. And I think that, you know, by doing that, you lay a strong foundation. I saw a video the other day about a little girl who broke down and cried because she said that the color of her skin can get her killed. And then I thought about what Baba Wakesa of the I Educational Institute teaches, and that's you have to be very careful about the words you use, and you have to reframe it. No, it's not the color of your skin, it's the racist system that we live in. So when my oldest was 5 years old, I tell this story all the time because, you know, for me, not him reading above grade level or, you know, being able to do division at 5 years old, for me, success was when he said, I remember it so vividly, I was on the computer and he was dancing around behind me and he kept trying to get my attention. And when I finally turned around, he said to me, he said, "Mom, I love being Black." And so at this point I stopped because, you know, I'm like, really? Tell me why. And he said, and he looked down at his skin, he said, "Because I love the color of my skin." So for me, I had succeeded in what I was trying to do. And he was 5 years old at that time. And so in everything that I've taught them, I've tried to give them the skill, but I give them the skill through our story. You can teach a child to write by, you know, using Black literature. You can teach anything through our historical lens. It may take a little work, but it's worth it because the benefit is that you have a child who moves through the world feeling differently about themselves, their level of confidence. I remember my younger son, I heard him having a conversation with a friend, and his friend said, I'm at a good school now. And he was like, "Oh yeah?" He said, "Yeah, because there's a lot of white people at my school." And my son was, you know, his reaction was like, "What? Are you saying your school is better because there's white people there?" And I guess the thought process that I knew he was having made me proud because everything that he was learning was sinking in, and it was impacting his perspective on life and the world. And I think that as Black homeschoolers, we have to understand that that's the most important piece, you know, teaching your children the truth, teaching them to love themselves, not worrying about the SAT, not worrying about if they're going to get into college. If you're creating a rich environment, if you're exposing them to things, even taking them downtown to protest and you're having conversations with them, because that's what, you know, my son asked me today, "Can we watch Blackish while we have breakfast?" No, but we can talk about what's going on in the world and just having conversations with your children. Those are the things that, you know, I remember reading in The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, and he talked about that, that so-called, that education gap. Mm-hmm. And how that it widens most during the summer because, you know, some African Americans let their children just relax and, you know, hang out, go to the pool, whereas white families or more affluent families are making sure that their children have experiences. And we can do the same thing. So I would say that when you are Black and you're homeschooling, please, whatever you do, don't try to create school at home. Your whole life becomes the curriculum, your lifestyle, the things that your children see that are important to you. Are you reading? You know, are you going to the museum? All of these things are educating and building and giving them a world view that will give them the confidence and the ability to succeed in anything.
That's wonderful.
That's what I honestly believe. That's the most important, because whenever I hear people say, "Oh, I'm going to homeschool. What curriculum should I use?" It's almost like, you can't answer that.
Right.
Because
it's so uniquely,
it's so unique.
Who the child is as a learner, who you are as a family, all of that. You know?
All of that. And most importantly, what is it that your child enjoys? Mm-hmm. Like for me, I wanted Zion to be an engineer because I wanted him to go to Africa and you know, build infrastructure, and I wanted to follow him around Africa. But, you know,
That's the oldest. That's your oldest child.
That's my oldest. And, you know, because I was trying to check the music box when he was young, I put him in Farafina Khan, which is a West African dance and drum ensemble. And music just infected his soul. And that was something that was outside of the classroom. That was not, I had him in piano too, because, you know, part of me wanted him to be able to read music, but it was that West African music that helped him develop a love to the point where he decided to change his major to music. And, you know, I couldn't do anything but, you know, respect that. So we have to, you know, pay attention to our children and how they learn and what's important to them. That can be what steers the education. My youngest loves money. So, you know, I try to focus on entrepreneurial things. Yes. And you can teach through anything, even his video games. Like right now, he's trying to build a YouTube channel. And I hear him and his friends talking about SEO optimization and how to get their rankings up. I've seen him watching videos on, you know, how to get more subscribers. That's all research.
Right.
So if we look differently at our children, and then we think about making sure that they have a firm foundation in who they are, I think that's the most important thing that as Black homeschoolers, we have to understand. We cannot just go and buy a curriculum off the shelf and force feed them this information so they can do well on these biased exams. We have to be confident about our children, and we have to show them that we believe in them, no matter how well they do on exam. Because I didn't do well on the SAT. I'm actually against the SAT, but I graduated in the top of my class. My oldest son, he did okay on the SAT, but he's gotten straight A's. So I don't believe that we should be teaching our children to a test. They're unique gifts from God. And when you homeschool, you have an opportunity to develop that.
I think that is a wonderful closing note. And so on that, we'll close out. I want to thank you so much, Monica, for joining us. And for those of you watching, we hope that you join us on Friday, July 24th in our breakout sessions, where we will be talking about some of the ideas that our speakers have shared with us. Hopefully some of our speakers will join us on Friday so you can ask them questions directly, but all of their contact information so you can learn more about their for Monica, her collective, any of the services that her organization is offering, and more information in general about our speakers will be located on our website. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.